During World War II, the Germans created a devilish machine called Enigma. It generated about 159 million billion possible codes to solve every day. They had the ability to change the mechanism of operation after 12 o'clock at night. The group of leading geniuses in England only had 18 hours a day to solve it before it changed. This could be said to be an impossible task, because even if they worked 24/7, they still needed 20 million years to try all the possibilities. Every second, 3 soldiers were killed because of Enigma. So if the solution was completed in those 20 million years, how big would the number of dead be? Hello everyone. Today I will introduce the film based on the true story of a genius that saved tens of millions of people in World War II. However, this hero had a tragic ending because of the prejudice in society. Please invite the whole family to see the main content. Currently, world wars are very fierce. The Nazi army has almost completely captured Europe. Where they go, houses are destroyed and death follows. The reason the German army advanced so effectively was because they had a very advanced communication network based on the devilish Enigma machine. Even Hitler confidently claimed that no one in the world could decode it. That was true. The British Army once captured an Enigma machine, but they could not decode it because its algorithm changed continuously. Therefore, they invited a lot of outstanding talent in the country. People who knew a lot about language, crossword champions, and especially a mathematical genius. He had just stated on his exam paper that this was the most difficult type of coding in the world. So, these friends will not help me. Finding me players who specialize in decoding characters is better. Hearing this, one could guess Alan was a very arrogant person, but not entirely. Although his IQ was high, his EQ touched rock bottom. His social skills were so bad that many people thought he was autistic. Even when his colleague invited him out to eat, he refused bluntly. "I am busy doing things I like, then I will go to eat." This kind of behavior in Vietnam is prone to causing gossip. He came to meet Dennis to propose buying a new machine. When Dennis called out the reason for the proposal, Alan said he didn't understand anything. He got so angry he stormed off, saying he would go find the Prime Minister himself. Who would have doubted Alan actually did ask the Minister of Defense to send a letter to the Prime Minister for him? The result surprised everyone. The Prime Minister not only ratified it, but also made him the manager of the intelligence agency. Actually, Alan's personality was so strange partly because of his childhood. Since childhood, he had been different. When eating, he must classify his own food separately. That's why he was often bullied by bad friends. They gleefully caught Alan, locked him under the floorboards, and then kicked constantly, making him shout in panic. Suddenly, he realized that his own teacher had incited them to be even more energetic. So he immediately silently ignored them. It was true. These students, not seeing any reaction from Alan, hastily left. At that time, a friend named Christopher helped him escape from under the floor. The two quickly became friends. Thanks to that, Alan found a new joy in life and fell in love with his friend. One time, Christopher gave him a book about decoding. Alan felt very interested in this, so the two of them used a secret language to talk to each other. This was also the first stepping stone in creating the secret genius that saved tens of millions of people. Returning to the present, after Alan became the head of the intelligence agency, he dismissed some unnecessary people and posted recruitment notices for more experts. Using a crossword tournament, the Intelligence Bureau printed the test in the newspaper. Immediately, the whole country began trying to solve the solution. From engineers to soldiers, from students to the elders, everyone was determined to solve this tough test. But Alan only chose the fastest person because the time to decipher the devilish enigma was limited. Overcoming the first test, the candidates continued to the second test. In this exam, people only had 6 minutes to complete. Unexpectedly, a beautiful girl submitted the earliest. He immediately checked and the results were correct. In fact, even Alan took up to 8 minutes to solve this test. The purpose of such pressing time was to see if the contestants stayed calm or gave up. That beautiful girl was named Joan Clark. Alan wanted her support, but Joan Clark's parents said that a girl working in the army would not be good later. Therefore, the main lead used his relationship to pull strings, even creating conditions for her to work at home, the best things for beautiful people to serve the country. However, Alan was too fascinated with the 10,000-pound machine, which made people angry. Because they worked day and night to crack the heart of the devilish machine, and he didn't care about their feelings. While angry, a person threw a wrench into the machine. Then he picked up the wrench, intending to destroy the machine, but fortunately others stopped him in time. It seemed that if it continued like that, the whole team would have to disband. But people really misunderstood Alan. A person who was wholeheartedly working like him couldn't be sitting idle. During the daytime, he worked. At night, he took his research results, hid them in his socks, and then went to Joan's house. Because Joan's father was very fastidious and conservative, he could only enter by the window. But this was risky if there were people inside. The two of them spread the research data on the floor and began to discuss animatedly. Enigma machine had up to 159 million different possible settings. Human energy alone could never crack it. So Alan built a machine and simultaneously optimized it to help decode the messages. This could be said to be an innovation of the male lead. He not only wanted it to give results, but he also wanted it to logically determine what the next step should be. Alan's machine was the ancestor of the programming and artificial intelligence industry, and people called this divine machine a computer. Although Alan was very smart, his communication skills were extremely poor. Fortunately, he had Joan's support. She told him that even if he was good, it was impossible to do everything on his own. He must improve his leadership and relationships with his subordinates. Alan realized his shortcomings and began to change. Every day he went to work, he brought each person an apple. Then he told them a joke, but his delivery was really awkward. Even so, his teammates still tried to laugh to make him happy. They felt Alan's sincerity, so they tried harder to decipher and helped him optimize the machine. The unexpected result was that in the afternoon, this machine could calculate 500 times faster. He wanted, within 24 hours, for it to help solve the Enigma machine. It would take 20 million years to decode manually, but now just one day seemed indeed unbelievable. In the following days, Alan sat in front of the computer watching it work. This is when Commander Deniston came in. He thought that Alan was wasting electricity, so he called the guards to the laboratory to sabotage it. They forced the machine to stop working and seized it. Alan tried to explain, but everything he said was denied. At this moment, all his colleagues came in. Everyone agreed that if Alan was taken away, they would quit. The people here were all outstanding talents. If he dismissed Alan, it would surely affect the war effort. Therefore, Deniston temporarily backed down, not daring to push this trick. However, trouble hadn't finished with Alan. Because Joan's parents saw that she was too old but still not married, so they decided to ask her to go home to live, but she wanted to keep working here, until the holidays, maybe even have a baby. Naturally, Alan could not lose an important person like her. As soon as Joan was about to go home, he took a wire and wrapped it into a ring to propose. Although it was a bit surprising, the beauty agreed. So the two of them invited colleagues to a pub to celebrate. While everyone was happily talking, Joan's best friend accidentally said a sentence. Everyone has a habit. For example, I had met a man before. When writing a letter, he usually starts with a certain word strangely, and I did not understand what it meant. Immediately, Alan's eyes became brighter than car headlights. Because every German military message might also have a habit. For example, ending messages with Heil Hitler. If you used known words to make common words and then entered them into the computer, the ability to decode would increase significantly. So Alan wasn't interested in staying on the roof catching chickens anymore and ran straight to the lab. Everyone also worked all night to program the machine. As expected, the computer ran for only a few minutes. In the end, they succeeded after many years of hard work. They hugged each other, crying with happiness. From this moment, the Nazis' intelligence network was held in the palm of their hands. But they still could not be fully happy, because while intelligence could be read, the war was still ongoing. At this time, people received news that half an hour later, the Germans would attack a certain ship. The opportunity for them to score a victory to save people also came. A teammate planned to report the results to their superiors, but was immediately stopped by Alan. He said that if the Germans wanted to attack, they should let them attack, and he threw the phone down. So he was right in defying his opponent. Some people are about to die, why not save them? At that time, Alan said that capturing the Enigma machine took 2 years. If they saved people immediately, it would make the Germans discover their success, and they would change to another encryption method. That would be disastrous. Even if there were relatives on that ship, they could not be saved, because their mission was to help the country win against fascism. Alan then went to the Minister of Defense and made a proposal. He said that the fact that they had deciphered Enigma must definitely not be revealed. The research room then needed to build a new computer system. If the Germans did not discover this, they should let attacks happen as intended. They should only interfere with large-scale attacks because those decided the war's outcome. And they should try to limit loss of life as much as possible. The minister felt Alan's sense of responsibility, so he agreed to help implement this plan, but he still couldn't be assured, fearing other people might talk. To keep Joan from danger, he met her and acted coldly or sang mockingly in her face. Joan angrily slapped Alan for a moment and then turned to leave. The next period was extremely harsh and cruel, because every calculation of the male lead was soaked in fresh blood. All his decisions directly affected the lives of others. Although no one wanted to die, the price for peace was very high. These silent heroes helped the Allies win many victories, but from the beginning, no one knew about them. Because they lost many big and small battles, the German army, becoming desperate, began to gather forces for vital battles. As a result, they lost miserably under the tenacious fighting will of the brave soldiers, and the silent heroes had deciphered messages for 2 years. On Victory Day, everyone was happy, congratulating each other with infinite joy. But that was also the day Alan's team received orders to disband. The minister said that everyone's mission had ended. They had to burn all the documents and never mention the work. Although the war had ended, in the future there might be other battles. If the British intelligence breakthrough was exposed, and the fact that the Enigma machine could be decoded became known, it would be very dangerous. So they could only be anonymous heroes. And if peace was kept, then perhaps they would no longer see each other. Wish you all a beautiful future. On everyone's face, they showed a bit of sadness, but they could only turn and leave this place. Despite being a hero, Alan was later treated unfairly because society did not accept a gay man and considered it a sickness. When they found out he was gay, they gave him a choice. 1 was to go to prison, and 2 was hormone therapy. And he chose hormone therapy to protect his computer, because it was named Christopher to remember the friend he loved when he was young who had died of bovine tuberculosis. One day, Joan came home to visit Alan. She wanted to play a word game with him, but the hormone treatments made him severely depressed. In the end, because he couldn't live true to himself, Alan chose suicide. He passed away at 41 years old. It was not until 2013 that Queen Elizabeth II officially pardoned Alan, recognizing and praising his silent dedication during World War II. Alan's life is a good example for students everywhere to follow. Thanks to him, we have modern computers like now. Sincere thanks for his contributions to humanity. This is the end of the video. If you like it, leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss my new videos. Thanks for watching, and see you again in the next videos.